Welcome to 2026, the most explosive year of Zanu-PF internal battles and succession wars. Patiri panapa patapinda mugore rino, tapinda mugore rakaoma. Tapinda mugore richaratidza exactly what we have been waiting for. Tatakamirira maZimbabweans for a very long time, waiting to see kuti zvii zvichaitika and zvichaguma nokudii. And for all the time that we have been waiting, tasvika pa period yekuti we are now beginning to see things getting to the breaking point. Umnyaka lo uka 2026, umnyaka onzima, especially endabeni ze politics, especially ku Zanu-PF. Right? So the 2026 year is not just a calendar turn, just like any other. This is a year that is a lot that it is demanding. It could demand questions to the succession ya Mnangagwa. It could demand the practical situation on the ground, right? All these theories dzakanga dzichipiwa about what exactly has been happening, while Varakashi vanga vachitora advantage of denying the facts on the ground through propaganda, is going to be put to test this year. This year, my narrative ese nema propaganda ese angachimhanywa now nezvigananda nevarakashi, they are going to be put to practical test. So we know that power in Zimbabwe never moves quietly, right? It never moves without anxiety. It never moves without involvement of some forces that will have to be sitting on one side or the other, or outside constitutional form. This time around, a man who has decided to openly defy the constitution, because the test of time has come. So the contest on who succeeds Rovambira and it's now becoming a central organizing principle of the elite politics. We are looking at 2026 as a year it is going to expose the fault lines more clearly than what we could have seen possibly even in 2017. Saka, there is a lot that is challenging the status quo. Pane zvakawanda zviri kuitika. Ruka Chiwende is constitutionally barred from contesting another term. And yet Zimbabwean politics, because haisi kuda kufollow a constitution, varuda kuramba vachipresa kuti it is controlled by the party, security alignment, patronage, distribution, and narrative management. They are going to be put to test again in 2026. Saka apana succession aimbofi yakadzimika. That issue, no matter how much they may want to sweep it under the carpet, it's not going to be hidden under cupboards or under carpets. Each aramba ichingobuda, it will continue to come and demand to be seen. So succession is not a question of who is popular, nor is it even a question of competence, but who can assemble a coalition of power strong enough to survive both party and state. And as we stand and to see, we are beginning to see Kuti Mnangagwa has managed to surround himself with very few, right? He decided to cut majority and remain with minority who are people who are boxed up, right? But does that give him enough leverage? Because leverage will have to do with how much control he has on both the party and the state. But in the party itself, he has cut out many people in terms of feeding from the feeding trough, right? So his strength does not lie on rhetoric or public charm, but it lies on institutional memory and the military credibility. When it comes to military credibility, it will be very naive for Vanvakaita Sanas Gananda, Nana Temba Mliswa, and those that are making noises about 2030 to want to write off General Chiwenga. You can never write off General Chiwenga when it comes to military credibility, because once a soldier, always a soldier, and soldiers will always align with each other. You remember General Rugeje Vachiti Magandanga Hatirasani. So Chiwenga still represents continuity of the liberation security ethos that has underpinned ZANU-PF's rule since independence. And to think that he can just be uprooted just because Zgananda are running propaganda, which is no longer popular, it's really neither here nor there. He is understood within the party, not as an ideologue, but as a guarantor of order. Saka, right now, the ground that General Chiwenga has gained, yakakura chaizo. Why? Because he has started of late to speak things that resonate with the general public. Not only public in terms of Zimbabweans outside the ZANU-PF party, but also within the party as ZANU-PF. Saka, he remains a force to reckon with. So the matters deeply in a system that fears a rupture more than stagnation. However, 2026 will not be a kind of simplistic assumption about Chiwenga's inevitability. Chiwenga remains a central, central figure in either the destruction or the gluing of, ZANU-PF and how it stands in the years that are to come. Sakapane a lot for those that want to quickly just blow him off and write him off. Pane a lot that they still need to consider. So we know that Mnangagwa has been on a very long project, which has been that of trying to prevent General Chiwenga from becoming, a coronation of office. So, but it has not succeeded that much. What we could say he has succeeded is actually more like propaganda than the real ground that has been moved. So this year, Yakaipa 2026, we are likely going to be seeing an intensity of the effort to make sure that General Chiwenga does not move up. But at the same time, the pressure also that is coming from other sources and other parties will still remain a force that cannot be ignored. So this is where they enter the frame, not as conventional candidates, but as political concept. So Mnangagwa aneka concept of trying to bring in the elite who don't have political power and muscle, but because they just are parrots of it's a new system or set of order bring up, which will see to it that politics is totally taken over and political parties totally nullified. So Kubakwake symbolizes a possible post-liberation transition within ZANU-PF, one anchored less in barracks legitimacy or more, but more in financial patronage and what we could call state capitalism. But there are some forces that you can't get rid of totally, like the issue of the barrack legitimacy. Saka, you could try to use cars, the soldiers and so on, but you can still buy those cars and the guys receive them, but within them, they still feel whatever is happening is not right, which is likely to be the situation that we are facing right now. So, so the rise of Tagore is not accidental. It reflects Mnangagwa's preference for a successor who owes his elevation to civil networks rather than the cohesive ones. So 2026 remains this dynamic year that will sharpen Tagore's influence or is likely going to expand through party financing. Vachitengana, vachidya mari, vachita hori, vachidaro. But chakaipira hori wavone corruption yavo is not benefiting the majority. So his weaknesses, Tagore, remain acute. His lack of grassroots political experience carries the burden of elite accumulation in a country fatigued by inequality. So inequality does not only lie within the state itself. It lies from the party, it lies from the aristocracy, it also lies along the citizen. So it's a thing that is exerting a lot of pressure on the status quo and what is going to be the outcome of an implosion that is likely to happen. Should economic pressure intensify, Tagore's proximity to wealth may become a liability rather than an asset. So ZANU-PF is attempting to manage succession without opening space for reform or general renewal. And it's a thing that Mnangagwa has tried to shut down for a long time, but it seems like the lead is too hot. The lead is too hot. The party's younger cadres are also increasingly transactional, less ideological, and more impatient. Their loyalty is not automatic. Because we are seeing the fluid character and behavior of the younger people in the party flowing more towards those that look like dishing out trinkets, like the way we have seen Uganda all of a sudden taking over the grouping in Onzi Ivarakash. Of late, you have seen Ivarakash are now leaning more on Uganda than on any other political figure. Tikadauta savana Ziambi, vana Garwe, tikadauta savana Denda and the like. You can see Kuti, the reporting done by Varakash is leaning more. It's more louder when it comes to Gananda. Why? Because it's a transactional kind of symbiotic relationship. Saka ipapo pachanetsa panonetsera kuti manje you can't rule out money totally, because money is not totally excluded from the other forces that are coming against the establishment. Variko vamwe vanotorinadzo mari dzacho, including business people vanogona kunge vari quiet, who are also likely going to use it. And now with a fluid young generation who are transactional and less ideological, the possibility of having a shocking situation where those that were thought to be on one side could be found again making noises on the other. So this year, Chiwenga's role this year is paradoxical. He will insist publicly that succession is a party matter while privately shaping the terrain on which it occurs. He continues to want to be, the shrewd contriver. He wants to sit in the driver's seat of whatever is happening in the succession matters. But that on its own remains a big problem. So Mnangagwa cannot afford a successor who will reverse his settlements or rip open old scores. Nor can he afford one who lacks the capacity to hold the system together. Sakavanata Gray, them being able to hold the system together is a little bit, tricky, because there are more other forces like the military, security forces, and then party lines and so on. Those forces now are a bit difficult for people like Vanata Gray. So that on its own continues to show us Kuti, where exactly are things getting to. 2026 is the most explosive year of ZANU-PF's internal battles and succession wars. Saka Isusu, we continue to pray for the nation. We continue to believe God for Zimbabwe. We love Zimbabwe. We love our nation. We love progressive and loving leaders, not people who vachifunga about themselves and nobody else. So let's keep watching and let's keep praying. 2026 remains a critical year.